Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ann Arbor District Library. My name is Danielle. I'm a public library associate here, and I'm so excited to have you all here tonight. Before we get started with tonight's program, A2ZERO's final installment of their A2ZERO Sustainability Forum, I'm going to just give you a few housekeeping items. I would like to remind you all to have your phones on silent, just out of respect for your fellow patrons and the speakers tonight. We also have hearing assistance devices. Those are going to be just out those double doors against the back wall if you need them. We also have our restrooms located just through the double doors you entered in the beginning. You'll take a right. It'll be just against that back wall. And without further ado, please help me welcome Jordan Larson from the Office of Sustainability and Innovations. Oh, sorry.
Good evening, everybody. Again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know it's a beautiful day and you're offering to give us your time indoors when it's so nice outside, so we appreciate you sharing your time with us. Again, my name is Jordan Larson. I'm a staff member with Ann Arbor's Office of Sustainability and Innovations, and it's my pleasure to be the host for the Sustainability Forums. This is our final session in this year's season. So again, I want to give a special shout out and appreciation to the library for hosting us. It's been great, and we've seen some familiar faces at a few of these sessions, so whether this is your first time or you're a repeat visitor, we're glad you're spending this evening with us. And these forums really are times to bring together experts and change makers in the community, not just city staff, but residents and other community members that are making the change in their own networks and in their own neighborhoods. And again, it's our pleasure to really highlight some of these stories, and we hope to do some of that this evening with you all. So for this evening, our title is Building Social Resilience. But before we get into what that topic means and what we're going to be covering, I just want to quickly go through tonight's agenda. We'll quickly look at where we are in the series, again, kind of what we've covered thus far. And then we'll go over a brief review of context and provide some background. What do we mean when we reference social resilience, and why is that important? Then I'll share some speaker introductions, after which we'll do some Q&A with the audience for all of our speakers if you have any questions. Then as we close out, I will also share some information about how to stay engaged. And again, we will likely have a few minutes at the very end for more casual conversation, and we have some resources at our table in the back as well. So a quick look over the series. Again, this is our final session, and we've covered a variety of different topics. We looked at all of the priorities and kind of goals for the city for the year ahead in January. We covered all the details around our new initiatives in municipal operations. We've looked at climate action for renters. And then last month, we had a really fun session celebrating the A2ZERO community cookbook, including a live food demonstration. So really, these sessions have covered a wide range of topics. And tonight, we're particularly excited to talk about social resilience. Now, to get into this, it's always helpful just to make sure we cover a little bit about A2ZERO. A2ZERO is Ann Arbor's plan to achieve a just transition to carbon neutrality community-wide by 2030. This is kind of the mission that guides all of the work of our office. And there are 7 strategies built into the plan. Really quick, hands up if you are familiar with A2ZERO. I'm guessing quite a few of you are. So yeah, this is familiar material. But again, we also have some folks that I believe are participating on our virtual stream, so it's always good to cover our basics. And this evening, out of all of these strategies, we're going to focus on strategy 6, which is about enhancing the resilience of our people and place. So our title, again, is Building Social Resilience. So what is social resilience? Well, as a concept, social resilience is all about the capacity of a social group to collaboratively address adversity and foster well-being. And in terms of a definition, maybe that's a little bit helpful, but really what I find most helpful is to actually dig into what are the characteristics, what is important, and why are we talking about social resilience? So some of the important characteristics that I think we'll also touch on tonight with our presentations are meaningful social connections and networks are critical for having social resilience. It's about having people in relationship with each other and these close connections and networks. It's also about trust building and mutual trust within networks and within communities across scales. Residents trusting each other, but also residents trusting the city and different entities that they may or may not interact with. It's also important to have a sense of belonging within community that is also critical for social resilience. Inclusive communication and sharing of information is a characteristic of social resilience, as well as access to resources and just access to that information. And lastly, agency to participate and engage is also a critical factor for social resilience. And now, why do we think this is particularly important within the Sustainability Office? Well, research repeatedly shows that communities with strong social networks are more capable of responding to change and shocks. And obviously, this is particularly relevant and important when it comes to climate change and severe weather, but it's also important for promoting well-being and mental health and physical health outside of emergencies. I think our perspective is climate change is something that we hear a lot about, like negative impacts all the time. And from our perspective, there's a lot of opportunities for joy and a lot of opportunities for community building that produces positive impacts in our neighborhoods, in our communities. And so it's not just about the negatives, it's also about the positives that we get with social resilience. But it's also important to acknowledge that communities with strong social resilience and social networks are also more capable of sharing, disseminating, and distributing information and opportunities and resources. And from our perspective, we can create a bunch of city programs with city money, but if those programs and those resources don't reach our residents, then they're not successful. And so how do we work together to create the networks of communities and folks that not only keep track of each other and care for each other, but also help disseminate information and resources. So tonight, we really just want to highlight some of the stories and projects that we think demonstrate how we're working in and with community to build these stronger social networks. And really want to celebrate the community members that are making the work happen. Because it's not just about what the city's doing, it's really about a lot of community members doing this work. So with that, we're really excited to share a few presentations and a few project stories. And so I will quickly do an introduction for each of our presenters, after which they will each come up and give their presentations. So first up, it's my pleasure to introduce Mary Baylog. Would you want to wave real quick? Hi. So Mary is a registered dietitian nutritionist, certified intuitive eating counselor, and culinary educator based in Southeast Michigan. Her mission is to promote positive relationships with food, body, and community. She is the founder of Mary B. Wellness, LLC, a community nutrition practice offering individual counseling, nutrition seminars, cooking demonstrations, and professional training. With a background in clinical dietetics, culinary arts, and food systems advocacy, Mary integrates these perspectives to expand how we think about and engage with food. Her areas of expertise include intuitive eating, disordered eating prevention, health at every size, seasonal cooking, and community-centered approaches to food and wellness. Thank you, Mary, for joining us this evening. Next up, I would like to introduce Mason Edison. Mason, want to wave for us? Mason is a member of the Ann Arbor Climate Corps, currently serving with the Office of Sustainability and Innovations. Originally from Ann Arbor, he graduated in May of 2025 from Lake Forest College in Lake Forest, Illinois, with a bachelor's degree in environmental studies and sociology and anthropology. In his role with OSI, Mason supports resilience initiatives and the A2 Ambassador Program. Mason is interested in a career in environmental policy and local sustainability and is very excited to contribute to a more sustainable community here in Ann Arbor. Thank you, Mason, for joining us. Next up, it's my pleasure to introduce Tim and Ashley Vaduva. Now, Tim we have up at the front here. Ashley, if you want to wave, Ashley's in the back. They'll be tag teaming a little bit for tonight's presentation. But Tim and Ashley are longtime residents in Ann Arbor. Tim since 5th grade, and they have been homeowners on the southeast side of the city for 12 years. Tim and Ashley have 3 kids in Ann Arbor Public Schools, 1 in middle school and 2 in elementary, and they've been involved in community building in their schools, church, neighborhood, and city for several years. Tim is an A2ZERO ambassador and Science Olympiad head coach, and Ashley has held several PTO board positions, including president. Thank you both for joining us tonight. Next up, I would like to introduce Tresna Lim Taylor. As an architect and certified passive house consultant, Tresna has a professional interest in green building and sustainable design. Personally, she is also interested in circularity and the circular economy, and usually has a few personal projects going at the same time. Right now, Tresna is replacing her lawn with pollinators, reupholstering a set of dining chairs picked up at a local estate sale, and learning watercolor sketching. Tresna is a member of the 7th cohort of the A2ZERO ambassadors, which graduated from the program last year. Tresna, thanks for joining us tonight. Last but not least, it's my pleasure to introduce Rachel Rickinger. Rachel is a deputy city clerk with 6 years of experience working in the Ann Arbor City Clerk's office, serving in roles that focus on elections, city council, permitting, and community outreach. Rachel enjoys the dynamic nature of clerking and is passionate about the customer's service and collaborative, innovative problem solving she gets to do with the city. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us. All right, well, with that, I'm super excited to invite Mary up to the stage to tell us a little bit about her food work at one of Ann Arbor's community centers.
Hi, how's everyone doing? Can everyone hear and see okay? Cool, okay. A little louder, is this good? Okay, thanks. Well, thanks for having me. It's really nice to meet everyone. Everyone sounds so interesting. I've never been to one of these before, and I was fortunate enough to work with some folks from A2ZERO and OSI and Community Action Network on a project, so that's why I'm here. That's what I'll talk a bit about. And it was called the Community Kitchen Series. And before I get into it, I'll just give a little more context around me and my work so you know like who I am and why I'm here and why I did this project. So as Jordan said, I'm a registered dietitian, but some of you may know me from Argus Farm Stop. I have worked there for over 10 years now. Has anyone been to Argus before? Okay, cool. Yeah, so Argus Farm Stop, it's a year-round farmer's market in town. And I became a registered dietitian. I worked at U of M Hospital for a few years, and I ended up leaving to go to culinary school in Livonia at Schoolcraft. That's when I started working at Argus back in 2015 when they had basically just opened. And I've stayed there in some capacity doing other food jobs as a dietitian. And it's just really complemented my work. I've learned so much about local food, being there, talking with the farmers. It's really informed how I teach and talk about food. So if you know me from Argus, if you see me there, you can say hi. But I also have my community nutrition business because, you know, I can't have one job in this economy. So I do lots of different things. And my mission really as a person and as a professional is to just understand how to best help people, how to especially improve people's relationship to food and to their bodies, and how to advocate for local food systems. Because I think building that community agency can help empower us to think about the way we teach each other and how we want to talk about food with each other, how we can grow food and share food and feed each other. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. I really describe my work as being at the center of local food systems and eating disorder prevention. So thinking about how to, you know, educate people to rethink their relationship to food in a more positive way, in a flexible way, and then how to learn more about who's growing food around us to maybe expand their perspective of food. Because food is more than nutrition, as we will explore tonight and as you do in your work every day. It's social connections, it's culture and traditions, it's our history, it's our place, it's our season. So I really love being able to use my work and connect through all these different aspects of food with people. And so what brought me here tonight was this cool project I got to do in partnership with the Community Action Network and the Office of Sustainability and Innovation. So it was a project supported by the Sustaining and Arbor Together grant. And I want to shout out Clay, Azella, and Bryce, who were part of the team with me organizing this. Azella reached out to me because she knew I'm a dietitian and that I do some education. She knew me from Argus, so that's my favorite kind of project where it's just word of mouth. It's somebody who knows about me, who knows my work, and that trust is kind of built into it. That's really meaningful to me. So they reached out. They said that the residents at Green Baxter Court in a survey had expressed an interest in cooking classes, especially things related to meal planning, practical tips around cooking, building balanced meals and whatnot. And so that's what I worked with. We really wanted it to be relevant to the people there. As a dietitian, it's not just about me being an expert and telling people what to eat and what not to eat. It's really about what's practical for you, where are you at right now, what do you want to learn from me, and what do you need support with? So how can we think about food in an imperfect and an approachable way? And also, we aim to incorporate some local ingredients. We really emphasize that like intuitive eating approach with flexible perspectives on food choices and nutrition. And really the base of it was bringing people together. So I wanted to think of it as, you know, we're all just coming here to make dinner together. I'm not the person in front of the room, you know, just demonstrating for you. We all got our hands in and got to make a meal together. It was in March, so it was kind of on the edge of winter and spring, and it was just nice to get people out of their houses to come together and hang out and eat, because food is good for doing that, bringing people together. So what we did was we had 3 sessions in March 6th, 20th, and 27th, Friday nights. We did a 2-hour group cooking and nutrition discussion event. And so what that looked like is we were cooking alongside a nutrition presentation that I put together. We had some different topics that we covered, and there was about 6 to 8 people, maybe 9 or 10 people, some sessions who came. It was pretty consistent, so everyone got to know each other. It was a great way to build some relationships in Green Baxter Court. So session 1, our topic was building a balanced plate. So I just introduced the foundations of balanced nutrition, talked about the 5 food groups. We introduced some intuitive eating concepts like, how to explore when you're full and satisfied or when you're hungry, and how to use nutrition to understand more about your relationship to food. And then we made yakka mein. Has anyone had that before? It's a delicious New Orleans dish. It's kind of like a brothy meat soup. And then we made garlicky bok choy, which I got from a local farmer at Argus, and then cornbread. Everyone did a great job. It was really fun. For session 2, it was taste something new. So our focus was incorporating new, maybe unfamiliar ingredients, seasonal foods. We highlighted daikon radish and kohlrabi, which some people had not been exposed to, and talked about how to just use some basic cooking techniques to use unfamiliar things to build your repertoire in the kitchen in an approachable way. And we built our own grain bowls, so everyone got to build their bowl based on what they wanted with some different veggies and grains, and it was really fun. We talked a lot about how to shop local and how to find farmers in your area, and we passed out the A2ZERO cookbook, which was pretty cool too. And then our last session was meal planning without rules. So we talked all about real life nutrition application, different barriers to cooking balanced meals like time and budget, and accessibility, how to use pantry staples, and how to incorporate that with other fresh ingredients. And we made a creamed spinach pasta. It was just the start of spinach season, so it was perfect to incorporate in a recipe. And we made roasted carrots and garlic bread. Do any of those sound really yummy to you? It was a hit. So people loved it. It was awesome because people also got to leave with pre-portioned recipe kits that I built. It was a lot of time, but it was totally worth it to measure all the ingredients for all of the recipes in each session. So everyone went home and was able to practice making it themselves. They also left with a $25 grocery gift card to support buying more groceries at home for themselves. And then we made lots of really helpful resources that highlighted like how to, what makes a meal, and seasoning and spices tips, and seasonal eating guides and food guides, and the A2ZERO cookbook, and all these different information that can help them moving forward. And everyone really liked the food, so I offered like this little check-in form at the end of each session. Everyone demonstrated a sense of increased confidence, which is really what I want to see. My goal as a dietitian is not to work with somebody forever. I want them to eventually feel empowered enough to cook for themselves, make food choices independently, and build a balanced meal in a way that supports their physical and emotional and social life, So everyone was pretty happy with the program, and I was really excited to be part of it. They shared some really nice feedback about both the food and the session, and I wanted to highlight this amazing piece of art that one of the participants, Imani, made for me in the last session, because she knows I like food, and she made this beautiful bedazzled hand-painted fruit platter, and it's in my living room, and I look at it every day, and I was just so touched by that. So, just the food, again, it's more than nutrition, it's that sense of connection, and I really felt that in this workshop series, and I was just so glad to be part of it and appreciate the support of, funding this type of work. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Again, I don't think I'm alone in wishing I could have attended all of those cooking classes. I am particularly struck hearing your presentation, again, as an example of community agency and participation, and how the community members in this particular project got to pick what type of project they were doing, and the fact that you get to cook together. And it's not just watching someone else demonstrate, like that. To me, that's a perfect example of how something as simple as food, which we all interact with every day, can be something that really brings us together and creates community connection. So thank you for all of your hard work on that project, Mary, and thank you for sharing that with us. Next up, I'm really excited to invite Mason up to the stage. Again, we're going to have a couple presentations about projects that were done by A2ZERO ambassadors. So I'm going to invite Mason up to tell us just a little bit about what the ambassador program is. Come on up. Thank you, Mason.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming tonight. I'm here just to give you a brief overview of the program, so you have some context. And yeah, so this is the A2ZERO Ambassador Program. It's a 12-session training program that hosts community members to explore pathways for advancing local sustainability initiatives. Ambassadors gain increased knowledge, tools, resources, and the ability to discuss sustainability and learn about specific actions they and their communities can take to advance carbon neutrality. We're currently about 3/4 of the way through our 8th cohort, and I believe the 5th or so year of the program, and it's going really well. So the general outline of the program, there are 3 phases: recruitment, training, and sustained engagement. So recruitment entails people applying for the program. There is a moderately lengthy application, and then we at OSI go through all the applications and decide whether or not people should join the program. And Applications typically open around December, and then the program runs roughly from March to June. So we're nearing the end here. And the training sessions, there's one per week for 12 weeks, sometimes with a break in the middle. We're in the middle of our 2-week break right now. And they span a variety of topics, including equity and environmental justice, community sustainability and climate action, renewable energy, water efficiency, circular economy, sustainable food, community resilience, and others. And so all of them reflect the goals and mission of our office. The sustained engagement program phase is something that we're focusing on in coming cohorts. Currently, the structure of the program offers ambassadors a choice of 2 different pathways after the training concludes. But in the future, we're going to focus on a different type of model and hope to incentivize ambassadors' participation in OSI programs, whether it's volunteering or showing up at events like this, for around a year. So we're excited for the new structure of the program and interested to see how ambassadors can continue to get involved with the office. Like I said, long-term engagement is something that we want to incentivize in the future. So we have a lot of different events. A2ZERO week is right around the corner. It's next week. So feel free to attend. You can find a list of events online. And there are also a lot of different volunteer opportunities that can allow ambassadors to practice their ambassadorship after their training session concludes. So that includes park work days, our 10,000 Trees initiative, and more specific events like A2ZERO Week and Green Fair. And a lot of this information can be found on our website. So if you either go to that link or scan the QR code, that'll take you to our ambassador page that has program information and resources. And if you're interested in becoming an ambassador, you can sign up for a mailing list that will notify you when applications open for the next cohort. And now Ashley, or Tim and Ashley, I'd like to welcome you.
Hello, I'm Tim. This is my wife Ashley, and our 3 kids are here as well. They're waving there. So one thing that was in our bio is what we have to, whenever we do any community resilience or projects, we have to think of it that has to be something that's family friendly or not take too much time away. So that's another aspect of things. So as Mason said, I'm an ambassador. I think a lot of us are here, and I'm going to talk about some of our ambassador projects that I've been a part of. And I want to kind of brag a little bit on cohort 4 and all ambassadors, but in terms of the sustained engagement. So these 2 projects, COSA and GEN, or Green Energy Neighbors, are 2 projects that came out of cohort 4. Also, the SWAP program was also piloted in our cohort. So that's become a really big thing that the city took over. So that's amazing. Cohort 4 was Bryce's first cohort after the pandemic. It was in 2002 to 2003. And the 2 projects that came out of that for me was the Community Organization Sustainability Advisors. So that's kind of a mouthful. And what we use that program for is we built 2 rain gardens. We finished up a rain garden at Genesis, which is a house of worship on Packard that hosts 3 congregations. And we connected with them through Bryce and the city. And it turns out that that building is where our congregation meets anyway. So it was really cool to be able to be there on a weekly basis and see the rain garden that we finished up. They already had a great plan. And speaking of the ambassador program, the water portion of that, the inception for this project was we're learning so much about what the city's doing as ambassadors with the A2ZERO program. And probably a lot of residents and individuals don't really know that. So how about we come up with a program to teach community organizations or help them do some sustainability projects? And that's how you know this presentation wasn't generated by AI, because that diagram there with the circle in the middle that says organization and ambassador, I did that. So the triangles are people, so to kind of explain that. So an ambassador could talk to an organization about a sustainability project, like a rain garden. And then since it's a community organization, a lot of people are going to walk by that rain garden or go through that building that has solar panels or whatever other sustainability project are. And they'll be inspired, at least in theory, to do that on their own. So if someone goes in and sees the rain garden at Genesis, the other one we did, and that's a picture of Hannah and I with, in the middle, holding the shovel, is Principal Miller at Pittsfield Elementary, which is our kids' elementary school. The rain garden there, you know, all the kids that go by that maybe tell their parents, hey, we should have a rain garden at our house. So hopefully that kind of spreads out as well. And with the COSA program, we also had Hannah, and then also someone else that helped us was Dave from cohort 5. So shout out to cohort 5 as well and the other cohorts. And then Linda was part of the original design of the program. The other project is Green Energy Neighbors with Lex and Michael, and we're kicking off the A2ZERO week on Sunday, this Sunday. So if you scan that code, you can sign up for the all-electric tour. So with Green Energy Neighbors, that project is to connect neighbors that want to do similar kind of projects. So if you're a homeowner and you want to add solar, but you want to talk to someone before you kind of decide on contractors or learn about some tips and tricks in terms of dealing with how to do that, how about we connect you with someone that's done that already? So that's the point of that. So, and then next we'll talk, Ashley and I, we were working on, also Bryce was kind of the city lead for us, is the Nourishing Neighborhoods as a pilot program. So yeah, I'll let you talk about that.
Sure, yeah. So our Nourishing Neighborhoods, the pilot program, we decided to start with like a cider and donuts event in our front lawn. One of the challenges with our neighborhood is we all have really tiny houses. So gathering inside anywhere is really difficult to do because we can fit our families in them and not much more. So we decided to take advantage of nice October weather and host a cider and donuts party. This required us, we went door to door to the entire neighborhood, which didn't feel like it was that big until you were knocking on every person's door, and it took us weeks to complete that project, but we had some good help in it. Our first one, we had quite a few people come from the neighborhood, so that was really exciting. And we set out these big pieces of paper that were just like, what do you love about our neighborhood? And then what are you curious about or would like to see improved? And had people kind of fill out sticky notes just to give us some ideas about where we might go after the cider and donuts. I think the hope was that we would invite these people in and kind of create maybe a neighborhood emailing list that we could then stay in touch as things were going on. I will say we had some successes, so I'll share those first, but I also don't want to be like, we nailed it, because there were a lot of flops along the way too that we are learning how to roll with. People love to talk about roads. People love to talk about like sustainability stuff, so those were really positive events that we were able to kind of host. So we were able to get people from the city, like through the Nourishing Neighborhoods, and Bryce kind of helped connect us. Like, when are we going to get new roads in our neighborhood? Nobody knows that. We don't have sidewalks. Are we ever going to have sidewalks? These are things that we didn't know. So we were able to kind of host this community forum and get information. People are very passionate about sidewalks, by the way, for and against. Like, oof, that was a meeting. So that one went really well. We hosted a winter preparedness event that was also outside. Our neighborhood was really impacted by the ice storm several years ago. So just how do we feel better prepared for winter? So that was a great event. And then there have been some other like sustainability conversations that have come from that as well. I attempted a neighborhood newsletter. This is not my skill. I don't know what I'm doing, but I can use Apple Pages and try to put something together. So we had a neighborhood newsletter going out for a while. But what I found with that was that nobody responded to it, really. So you would use the neighborhood newsletter to say, like, hey, would someone offered to start a walking club? Like, would people like to join a walking club? Like, no response. We tried to start like a neighborhood play group because we have a park in our neighborhood. So I think maybe every Tuesday you can meet and play with your neighbors, you know? But like that never really got off the ground either. We had a book club. We met one time, but then it like flopped after that. So we have tried lots of different things, and some work and some don't. And so trying to just like, what do I do with that information? I don't really know. Staying in touch with one another in between events is really challenging. I do not want to sign up for another app, so like please don't add me to like a Discord group. I just don't want to do it. I'm tired of like all the virtual stuff, but life isn't set up for like organic outdoor meeting, so that is just kind of a perpetual challenge I think that we have found in our like neighborhood and community organizing, that people come home from work, you go in your house, you stay there until you leave the next day, and so it's really hard to build relationships across a whole neighborhood. So our focus is like right now just more the who are the houses that touch us, because I see you pull in and I'm like, oh hey, you know. So starting smaller is probably better. However, we still do the cider and donuts thing every year, and it has kind of, we're trying to like turn it into a neighborhood tradition. I don't know if anybody knows it's a tradition except for us, but we're trying. And you know, the benefit of the email list also, like I'm not sending things out anymore, but I think it does create at least an opportunity for projects to grow in the future. So another one that we're kind of trying to get off the ground is we discovered that like our neighborhood has racial covenants built into our deeds, but it's like a neighborhood-wide project, so we can't get them out unless everybody works on it together. So it is like, well, isn't it handy that we have this email list and we have some practice going door to door throughout the whole neighborhood so that we can, you know, create more community and work on these big structural things together. But neighborhood work is hard work, and so I think it's really easy to like go to an event with like-minded people, but to go to events with the people that you live with is a lot harder to pull off. But I think is where the good stuff is, and so for better, for worse, yes, that is. Is there anything else that I was supposed to?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, all right, that's what we've done. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll just add on the neighborhood stuff, there is a guide back there, so you can go to the table if you're interested. If you're like Ashley and us, like we're not sure what to do, having a guide is also helpful. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentation, especially the block party, which I think we want to do at some point, so I want to hear about that as well. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Tim and Ashley. I really appreciate how you guys embody the importance of community when it comes to climate action. So thank you for your continued efforts, and another round of applause would be awesome. Building on your project, OSI has been piloting and experimenting ways to implement nourishing neighborhoods into a broader initiative or existing programs. So tonight we're excited to share that the Nourishing Neighborhoods idea will officially have a home with the A2ZERO Ambassador Program, as it will serve as an actionable toolkit for ambassadors to practice ambassadorship in their respective neighborhoods. While some of the toolkit resources are still being finalized, we have a few printed copies of the Nourishing Neighborhoods Guide at the table in the back and encourage you to check it out. Thank you again to Tim and Ashley for your contributions and to Nourishing Neighborhoods for presenting tonight. Now it's my pleasure to invite Tresna to the stage for another presentation on an ambassador-led project focused on building community.
Thank you, Mason, and thanks, Tim and Ashley. That was so exciting to, yeah, I don't have any slides. It was really cool to hear about some of the things that you guys have done, the flops and the successes. You know, I'm thinking a lot about all these things. So my name, as Mason mentioned, is Tresna Taylor. I am here to talk about the Sustainable Block Party Guide project. This was part of under the umbrella, again, of the Nourishing Neighborhoods project. And there were 3 of us on the team. We were from the 7th cohort, which just graduated last year. Myself, Ron Freemeyer, who's in the audience, and April Sunid. April, wave, there you go. Yeah, so I will admit that we didn't really discuss resilience very much while working on this project. You know, we were given a task. It was to create a guide to help people in Ann Arbor plan a sustainable block party. And so we focused on that. We didn't ask why. I'll just admit that. But it's a good question, and I'll come around back to that. What we did do, though, is we talked a lot about block parties, our perceptions of them, our personal experiences with them. I will tell you a secret, though. No one on the team had any experience actually planning a block party. So, but, you know, we had all just finished this training as ambassadors, and so we really leaned in on the sustainable aspects of it and came up with ideas beyond just the very basic things of, you know, creating a zero waste event, using compostable silverware and plates and stuff like that. You know, we really leaned into some of the things that we learned about, you know, ways of activity ideas, entertainment ideas that brought in practices and principles of like circular economy, food sustainability, mobility and transportation. So the first part of our guide is kind of a list of all these ideas that if you're planning a block party and want to make it sustainable, things that you might consider incorporating. So we are also very aware that there are a lot of neighborhoods in Ann Arbor that already have very strong, well-established block party traditions. And while the guide is, you know, designed for someone maybe starting a new tradition and a new event, the guide, we're hoping, could also be used by people who want to start to incorporate some of these ideas into something that's well-established to move it towards a more sustainable type of event. So I talked about the first part of the guide. That was kind of the list of these ideas. The second part of the guide was really just this logistical, checklist, a lot of checklists basically of how you actually go about planning a guide. The first thing to do, obviously the most important thing I think, is to just pick a date, right? Tell the neighbors, circulate that, advertise it so everyone knows when it is, and then you have a date from which you can plan backwards from. And I think the second key piece of information that you need to decide is to figure out where it's going to be. I mean, it's a block party, so yes, it's on your block, but there are different types of block parties. Is it going to be a private party in someone's yard, or is there a park that's adjacent to your neighborhood and you want to have it there, or do you want to have it in the street, in which case you're going to close the street? And I think that Rachel is probably going to talk a little bit more about that, so I'll skip over that part. But you know, those are the key decisions. We talked about that. We do link in our guide to the city clerk's office so that people can access that information. So having made those 2 decisions, then the rest of our sustainable block party planning guide is really just the checklist. So starting out with the basic party planning and then what you might do a few weeks before the event, and then the day of event, these checklists, and finishing up with, hopefully the intent is that the block party becomes a tradition, and so the last thing in the guide is planting seeds for the next year's event. So that's a block party guide in a nutshell. The status of the project, it's in review. We finished our work on it in November of last year, and it's been reviewed by the director of the OSI. It's been received very favorably. Our understanding, what we've been told, so Bryce is our project sponsor, I guess is the term, and he said it's been elevated to other reviewers, I guess. We don't really know what that means. We're a little bit in limbo on that. But one thing that we do know is when we started the project, it was kind of made clear that the OSI didn't have any, they didn't have any means of providing any material support to people wanting to plan or throw a block party. But after we finished this project, Bryce told us that he had been tasked with writing a grant for a mini block party, like a grant program, I guess. And apparently this is something that the OSI is really excited about, but at the city level, it's been met with some hurdles. I know that there is the Sustaining Ann Arbor Together grant program, which Mary mentioned, and that is available to fund events, but you have to be a nonprofit organization to take advantage of that. So most, just regular groups of neighbors hanging out aren't going to qualify for that. So I think it would be a great thing if the city, or if there was something to help, support that. It's an undertaking, right, to plan that, and to have one more hurdle, just like the expense of that. I think it's just, if there was something that made it easier, I think that would be beneficial. So yeah, I mean, it brings us back around to the idea of resilience. I think that, the reason for doing that, when we talked about those definitions of resilience, and to me, resilience, it's quite literally, it's bouncing back. It's being able to recover after a setback or a crisis. And part of being resilient or building resilience is to work towards minimizing vulnerabilities. So there definitely is a problem or an issue now, right, with social isolation. The CDC website talks about this. The Surgeon General has talked about this, how social isolation, I can quote, let's see. I got my pages mixed up. Yes, according to the Surgeon General, regular positive social connection is good and even necessary for our health. The CDC's website states that social isolation and loneliness are widespread problems in the U.S., posing a serious threat to our mental and physical health. This is especially important for older adults who may be more at risk of social isolation. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot because I recently found out that one of my neighbors has been experiencing social isolation. This was back in February. It was one of these relatively warm days after those really terrible cold spells, if you remember, that we had this winter. And I was going out to run errands. I noticed that she was outside her house. She was kind of standing by her side door. And when I came back an hour later after my errands, she was still there outside her side door. So I went over to say hello and see what was going on. And she showed me that when she opened her door, water would gush out. Not just a little bit of water, like a lot of water was gushing out of her house. She was an older woman. She was living alone. She didn't know what to do. So apparently her house, her Her crawl space was filled up with water to the brim. It was rising up, coming out of her house. And yeah, she didn't know what to do. So I helped her call 911. She didn't have a phone. Well, she had a phone, a cell phone, but she didn't have service. And while we were waiting for the fire department to come, I found out that she, well, one, didn't have a social network at all, a social support network. And two, that she had been living in her house for quite a while without electricity or heat. I don't know how she got through the winter. I was really shaken to find this out, right? So I was just really saddened that she suffered through that, and she didn't ever ask for help. And so I think that, after that whole experience, I reflected back on what we, the guide that we had put together. A lot of thoughts, a lot of emotions going through my head. But basically, I realized that the point of the guide is not to throw a perfect party. It's just to throw a party, just to get out there, meet, don't be strangers, right? That's the whole point. So anything that the OSI can do, the city can do to support that, I think is good. So the last thing I want to share is that even though we finished the work on our project in November, I am actually beta testing our draft of the Block Party Guide. So in March, I put surveys in all the mailboxes on my street. I can attest to the fact that it's a lot of work. There are a lot of mailboxes. But I also do think that I like the non-digital nature of that, right? Because, and also there are just people who just don't use, email or text or whatever. So I'm liking that aspect of it. And so I put in the surveys, just polling the neighbors to see which of these potential dates are going to work for the most people. By the end of April, I had received 25% basically response rate, which is not great. But 90% of the people who did respond all could make one date. So set the date. September, we're doing it. And to my delight, 4 neighbors have stepped up to help me plan the event. So yeah, we are having our first planning meeting on Sunday. So, yeah.
Thanks so much for that, Tresna. I really appreciate how you highlighted that you don't need to be experienced or a master at sustainability to practice climate action, and block parties are a great way to get involved. So thanks again, we really appreciate it. So similar to nourishing neighborhoods, OSI has been exploring ways to promote and build on the idea of sustainable block parties into the city's existing resources. We are excited to share that OSI is partnering with the Clerk's Office to offer a kit of resources to all residents who apply for a block party permit. While the kit's full details are still being finalized, you can expect to receive a guide with recommendations about how to make your block party sustainable, which was developed out of this ambassador project, as well as sidewalk chalk, coupons for plant-based food options, and the option for OSI staff support in adding a clothing swap and other sustainable activities to your block party. Thanks again to Tresna, April, and Ron for your work on this project. Now it's my pleasure to invite Rachel up to the podium to share a few more details about how you can apply for your block party permit.
All right. There we go. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So again, my name is Rachel. I work in the clerk's office. So you might know us from elections. You might know us from getting your dog licensed or any other random. We're the junk drawer of City Hall. But if you think about when you visit mom and dad and you need that trinket, that thing, that string, that pair of scissors, you go to the junk drawer. We're useful. We're useful. We're random, but we're useful. And one of the things that we do are block party permits. Now, we're all using the same word to describe some different things here, and the details might be a little different. So for us, a block party closes the street. So if you're doing something in your yard and you're self-contained, mazel tov, have fun with that. We're talking about something that might involve a little more city involvement. So I have pictures to help understand exactly what we're talking about. So block parties can happen any time of the year. Some are just going to be more cold or damp. We're going to talk about whether or not you're in the street or in your yards. So this one, everything is self-contained into people's yards and out of the right-of-way. This is the Almendinger neighborhood over on the west side, whereas the dining is in somebody's yard. This one, they blocked off the street, so they had the dining tables right in the middle of the road, because in Almendinger, the yards are pretty shallow. And then we also have block parties that all it is to close the road to have people walking in the street safely. So there isn't much set up, it's just to have community space, not community activities set up. So for us, what we mean by a block party is the intent of it is for community building. It's a special kind of street closure, so you can get barricades or you can use your own folding chairs, whatever. You can't block off a street with a car because fire and ambulance has to go through it, but we can provide the barricades for you. It's for a short amount of time, so think a few hours at most, 2-3 hours, and it's in a small area. So again, city blocks, we're thinking an L shape maybe is what we're talking about. We're not talking about blocking off of the entire historic west side, which is cool, but that's something different. There is not a police presence at these, but you can always invite PD and fire to these events, and they'll bring lights and sirens, and that's always fun too. Anything with food, you're going to get city staff. All you have to do is send. you can send an invitation. You'll get people bring in, trading cards and fun things. And so for a block party, because we are shutting down city streets, a permit is required because we want to know where egress routes are for people. So that way, especially this year is bonkers with construction. So we want to make sure that there is a pathway with detours and so forth. So that's really what the permitting process is for safety and for neighborly respect. So to apply for a permit, you can do so at the clerk's office. You can come in person, we'll walk you through it, or you can apply on Stream if any of you have used our permitting software. Either love it or hate it, but we're there to help you through it. The applications in their completed form, we ask for 10 business days to review them. If you submit them and you're missing your attachments that we're going to go through, we can't turn around the time. So we really do need those 10 days. So things that you're going to need, you're going to pick your segment of your street. So you're going to say, I'm going to close off, Olivia frequently closes down from this to this. And so you pick your end spots. Within that, if you look at a map, where households are affected, or you think of driveways. So 70% of affected households, so affecting people's driveways, we need a representative from each of those households. So Tim and Ashley, right? Tim and Ashley, you only get one of the 70%. So if you sign and you sign, you don't count. Just one representative. So 70% of the households affected have to sign off before we can give permission for this block party. but you have to plan in a way that it's not disruptive to those who choose not to participate. So be thoughtful that if this is the world's best event and you hope that everybody is excited, somebody's kiddo is going to get sick, somebody's got finals the next day, somebody is just cranky pants. They have to be able to exist without hooting and hollering and being stuck in their house because you have the streets cordoned off. So just be thoughtful of sick kids or cranky pants. So you'll need to notify everybody that you have an event going on. So we've heard flyers in mailboxes is the simplest way to do this. So friends, we've been talking about this since March. It's August. We've got this going on. It's happening, friends. Put that note in the mailboxes so that way people know that it's actually going to come. And so we also need a street diagram. This is for reviewers. If we push back that we're missing pieces, we're not just being nags. We actually do need these pieces. So you can download something off of Google Maps. You can draw on the back of a piece of scratch paper. I don't care. We provide this for you too, but we need to know where your obstructions are. So if you're going to have tables in the streets, we need to know where those tables are going to be. We need to know where your fire hydrants are. So if anything catches on fire, where are we blocking off? You need to have a fire lane. So you can have things in the street, but it will be on one side of the street. So that way lights and sirens can zip through on the other side. And the zip through lane is where your fire hydrant should be. If you're grilling, pro tip, have people grill in their driveway as opposed to trying to get permission to grill in the right-of-way in the street. It's just faster and easier to grill in your driveway. So yeah, anything that's going to be obstructing the right-of-way we need to know about, and just show us where your segments are. So you submit all of your pieces, either stream or you drop it off at our office, 2nd floor City Hall. Come visit us, bring your dog, I don't care. We like to have visitors. And we will review everything. Once everything is good, we will email you your permit. In the email, it'll tell you if you would like to pick up barricades. It's sawhorse barricades. You can pick those up from City Hall, and there's instructions on how to do that. And then we need you to please bring them back. They went walkabout, and we had to buy new ones. So now we have new barricades, but please, they're spendy. Don't walk away with them. And then our final ask is tag us on our Instagram. We would love to see your community. The clerk's office likes to be a part of this. You all trust us with elections. You trust us with your dogs. We would love to be a part of your community this way as well. And that way I also don't have to steal pictures from the fire department from when you guys invite them. So you can always invite us too. So that's it.
Thank you, Rachel. And really quick, I did just want to note, we have printed off a few of the block party permit applications in paper form by the table. So if you want to take one of those home, check it out, see what the application looks like, we would definitely encourage you to do so. And hope that you would consider hosting a block party in your neighborhood in the future. All right, so with this, we're gonna now spend a few minutes here doing a Q&A with our audience. Again, we'll have an opportunity to review a few things around continued engagement, and I'll share a few more details. But for now, I'd love to see if anyone in the audience has a question for any of our panelists. And as you raise your hands, I will note a mic will be going around, and as you share your question, please speak into the mic so we can, again, record that audio for the stream and recording. Thank you.
It's on. Do I have to? Is it one of them? Okay, you can hear it. Some of them you have to hold them right. How do I get a copy of the cookbook?
Excellent question. The best option is to check it out from the library as a physical copy. We don't have physical copies available for the entire community because there's a lot of interest and we don't have the capacity to print that many copies. But you can get a physical copy and check it out from the library here. It is also available online at any time if you want to look at the digital version. But for physical copies, my recommendation is to check it out from the library. So it's on the OSI website then? Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, well, to continue on that, is it downloadable as a PDF or what?
Yes,
Okay.
the online version is a PDF, and you're more than welcome to download and even print if you want your own physical copy.
Be nice to have the URL for it.
Yeah.
You had the statement, sustainable block party. Can you explain the sustainable part of it? I don't understand the definition, and sustainable sounds like it goes on and on and on, or, you know, this is a recurring or whatever.
Right. Well, is this on? We didn't name the project. That sustainable was given, so the Sustainable Block Party Guide. We were kind of left to run with that, and so that's I talked about how we, thought about all the things that we had learned and what ideas and concepts and ideas or activities could be incorporated into an event. So, I mean, I could see how, I really do believe that getting to know our neighbors better can enable people to shift their lifestyles to more sustainable practices, even little shifts. So, for example, like if you know that your neighbor sews, right? You could maybe learn some skills to mend your own clothes, for example. Or if I have a few people in my neighborhood who may be interested in sharing a CSA farm share with me, I might be more inclined to do that because right now I think it's just even a half share is maybe too much for me. So like just getting to know our neighbors at an event like a block party opens the doors to these possibilities. So I think that that's where a sustainability angle can come in. Yes, that's how we took it to mean. Yeah.
And I can add as well, jumping on that, Tresna, that there could be opportunities to collaborate with the office to bring city resources to add sustainability activities to the swap or to the block party, with swaps being an example. You could reach out to us and we could see if we could collaborate to bring some of our experience and expertise on hosting community clothing swaps and have that available as an activity as part of a block party, just as an example, and there could be others.
The city has zero waste set up, so I guess it's through your office, because I'm involved in the plant swap, the plant sale that's coming up in early June through the, I'm blanking on what you call that, the Community Conservation District. And we kind of made that a zero waste, tried to make it a zero waste event by having the zero waste containers for the various items. That's what I think about when I hear sustainable, but it's very broad, so.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And I think one of the purposes and goals for the guide is to not be super prescriptive of, this isn't a sustainable block party until you do X, Y, or Z. It's more just offering some options of, you could consider incorporating this into your party. And if you don't want to or don't, want to prioritize that, that's also totally okay, because at the end of the day, what we're really hoping people do is make those connections with their neighbors. But this resource and guide might help you come up with some additional ideas of what you can incorporate.
I'm one of the A2ZERO ambassadors here today, so based on the previous questions, I just wanted to amplify a couple of resources. What's really nice about this FAQ is that it's right before we have A2ZERO week next week, so any questions that we're asking tonight, I definitely encourage us to take them to the ward parties that will be hosted by OSI. And I just found the link for the web link for the cookbook It's in the charging station, which is online, but we also have copies of here. Just to put it on the sound, it's osi.a2gov.org/cookbook.
What I would suggest is that in your party area on that is to have a list of things like we can bring a truck that shows solar, or we can show how to do this and this and this and this, and give us a menu of some of the things that you could do, and we could throw a block party and have that as a feature. That would be an
absolutely.
attractive, but we need the list of items. So some way organize that into your website, so that when we wanted to do a block party, it says, yeah, let's throw a solar block party or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the intention for the guide, which will be part of the kit that when you apply for a permit, and this is what we're partnering with the clerk's office on, is to provide from our office this set or this small kit of maybe a few physical things, as well as a guide to provide those options. Activities. Yeah, for sure.
So I had a question for Tresna, but first I wanted to make sure I remembered this right. I think when we were doing the introductions of all the panelists, it was mentioned you had a background in architecture with like an interest in like green or sustainable architecture, I guess?
I am an architect.
Okay, awesome, cool. Well, I guess I just wanted to, like a unique position to ask you a question of, now that you've gone through this kind of like ambassador project process and you kind of have that background, or you are an architect interested in green architecture, if I remember it correctly. I'm just wondering if there's anything that either interests you or think would be a good opportunity for people in Ann Arbor to like go through one of these projects specifically related to something, I don't, at least tangentially related to like green architecture.
It's a good question. I mean, I think it really depends on individuals and what their personal interest is. You know, if you're a homeowner and you're interested in trying to make your house, you know, more energy efficient, for example, you know, you might look at certain things. So it's kind of difficult, I guess, to answer that question in a general sort of way. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, it was a totally off-topic question.
Okay.
I thought, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm happy to talk with people and to, you know, use a combination of what I've learned as through the ambassador training and what I know professionally to just try to help, you know, steer people in the right way. I don't know answers to all questions. I kind of feel like architects in general are like general practitioners. Like we kind of know where to go for the right answers if we don't know that, if you need a specialist. So I feel like being an ambassador is the same. Like we kind of have a lot of general knowledge, but I might not know all the ins and outs of like, you know, food sustainability, for example. And so I would refer you to someone like Mary, for example, or you know, someone who's more knowledgeable. So.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
You did learn a little bit about renewable energy, so like solar panels and,
Sure,
and
right.
insulation. So that could
Right.
apply to the practice of architecture as well.
Right, right.
I wanted please to know that ambassadors program, is it into the evenings or during like day? Could the high school children participate? And I was wondering, did you use like a paper cups for your party?
Yeah, the ambassador program training sessions are weekly Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 8:30. So we try our best to schedule them generally when the most people will be available. Obviously, we can't cater to everyone with differing schedules. But yeah, 6:30 to 8:30 Wednesday nights.
I think it might also be worth just noting that a few of the ambassador sessions are specifically in person, but then the majority of sessions have a virtual option. So recognizing again that 12 weeks of a program is a big commitment, and you know, participating from home virtually for a number of the sessions is also an option.
It's true, and we have several like field trips, so to speak. So next week we're headed to the water treatment plant So lots of cool opportunities.
Well, I have a quick question for Mary. Are there any other future activities like the one that you hosted earlier, or can we set it up, reach out to you? I have a group of people who just today we were talking about something like that, like food preps, getting together, doing it sustainable, affordable, and fun.
Cool. Yeah. So I work at Argus full-time, and then I partner with different organizations through my community nutrition business. So I'm contracted, whether they're K through 12 educators or clinicians or community members or other nonprofits and organizations, they can work with me directly. So as far as public events go, I do a lot of public events at Livonia Rec Center. I partner with them through the year. And then if you are, by any chance own or work with an early child care center or adult care center, I'm doing an education for those folks in June at Flint Fresh. And then in August, I'm going to be doing a cooking demo for the local food festival. So I'll be there. But if you have ideas for other personal projects or group projects that you want help with, you can always email me and we can talk more about what you're looking for.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, this question is for Tim and Ashley. For the Pittsfield Elementary Rain Garden, I'm curious, what was the process like in terms of getting approval from the school for that project? Was it as hard as Nourishing Neighborhoods, trying to kind of convince folks that this is something that is a really positive thing to do for that area?
Thank you for the question. I would say it wasn't that difficult, but that also goes into hand that we were already involved with the school for quite a bit, for several years at the board level. So we although we had turnover it's actually a longer process, more because our principal turnover. We had 3 different principals, and I mentioned that to like the first one we were there, and then she got promoted, and then we had an interim one for a year, and then finally the third one was the one that we actually worked with to do that. So I think the more difficult part was working through a guide and getting it approved by the AAPS property manager as well. So coming in and kind of describing how we're going to maintain it, the design elements of the rain garden. But in a community organization, having those strong relationships ahead made it a lot smoother. Thanks for the question. I don't know if I can break the quorum and ask a fellow panel mate a question for the block parties. Sorry. Well, just the question of, just clarification. Is a resident allowed, or is it legal to put something in a mailbox, or do you have to kind of put it like outside the mailbox? Because I've heard it both ways. I don't know. So I'm not sure what the
Yeah, what
the actual rule is.
the guidance we've been given is to not put it directly in the mailbox.
Okay.
Stick it on the side, stick it
Right.
into someone's front door. Yeah, there's some rules around exactly what can go in a mailbox, but the point remains the same.
Right. As long as you're not
Providing a flyer and taking it directly to someone's residence so they see it.
Right, yeah.
But yeah,
We've used like rubber bands to put on doorknobs, and we like spun it up and put it like in the flap that holds it, but not outside the mailbox. So just trying to understand what the best practices and rules are. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Tim.
In the past, the box itself is federal property, and so you have to have a stamp in order to put something, or a mailing permit to put it in the box. That's why you always see flyers stuck on, behind the flag, or like you said, the rubber band on the doorknob. But a lot of screen doors don't have, and you have to figure out a Prusik knot, which I can talk to you about later.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of along the vein of the block parties, I actually did want to ask Rachel, you specifically kind of clarified about the permit requiring, or the permit being required in instances of closing the street. If a neighborhood wants to plan an event that is exclusively on their yard, there's no permit required for that. Just wanting to clarify and confirm with folks.
Yeah, so if you're just all gathering in somebody's yard or a collection of yards, you don't need a permit for that. What the permit does is allow you to stop traffic from going down the right of way. So if, for example, this happens a lot like trick-or-treating, that there's nothing really happening in the street, but people want for that time there to be less impedance for people walking about between the yards. So they do it as a block party to stop that, because there's a lot of little ones in like these little pockets within the city. So same kind of thing, if you're going to be having like a progressive dinner a la 1959, that you're going to be doing things in a bunch of different yards, if it would be easier or safer knowing where the blind spots are in your neighborhood for walking around, you could do a block party. Really, the permit is to stop the streets, but nothing's going to impede your ability to party.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. And I wanted to just partially make that point on one hand because, again, I think there's something really magical about when you can close the street and realize that that can become community space. So again, we would definitely encourage folks to do block parties. But if you don't want to mess with a permit, you can still invite your neighbors. And so if that feels like a barrier to planning something, you don't have to go that route. So just clarifying there.
Thank you. Well, question for Rachel. I'm curious, based on the number of permits that you process, how many block parties are taking place in Ann Arbor every year? Just connecting with Trisna, seeing if there's a way we can scale those parties and make them more sustainable.
So after COVID, I would say starting 2022, we've surpassed 70 each year, bouncing right around 100 every year. So after the pandemic, we're really seeing a return to people wanting to connect in person. And there are like end of school year, beginning of school year, holiday weekends, that kind of thing, there's a push, but then there's also the repeat neighborhoods that have really embraced this as part of their neighborhood identity. And so something that popped up is, you start seeing that, well, there's a group of kiddos, and so we're going to have a neighborhood carpool. It wasn't the purpose of the block party, but here's a sustainable practice that's coming out of getting to know your neighbors is a sustainable practice. So we have, again, between 70 to 100, but that's the ones with the street closure that we know about. But I'm sure there's other things going around in the neighborhoods, and we'd love to see more. Give us something to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, our neighborhood parties, we didn't get a permit for because we were just in the yard.
Bootleg block parties.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting to know that, if there's between 70 and 100 per year, that's 70 to 100 opportunities for neighbors and groups to maybe activate some of these resources. So again, it's a project we're really excited about. And yeah, sorry, we can't, we tried to see if we could finalize everything of exactly what's going to be in the kit by tonight. That's still not quite finalized yet, but it's getting there. So yeah, we're excited to share that very soon. Any other final questions for our panelists?
I was thinking that, okay, so I forgot to add. So I have like my Argus hat and then my Mary B. Wellness hat. So for Argus, we do also host kids a lot of the time, kids groups. So we'll have classes come through, field trips. Usually we'll like make a little snack together and do a vegetable scavenger hunt. So if you're connected to the schools or if you have a group of kids and you want to reach out, we have an events coordinator at Argus who can help organize something like that too, if you just want to introduce kids to local food that way.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. So as we get close to closing out here, I do want to just remind folks that this is just a few examples of the projects and the work that's happening in the community. I know a lot of the attendees here are also ambassadors and have worked on projects that are supporting community and social connection in Ann Arbor. And so we really want to just acknowledge and celebrate all of that amazing work, both within the ambassador program and outside of the ambassador program. You know, I think a couple times tonight we've referenced community swaps. And again, that was an initiative that was led through an ambassador project that now has resulted in a monthly city event and additional swaps on top of that. And so, you know, our office, we come up with a lot of program ideas, but also we think some of the best programs are the ones that come from community input, whether that's from the ambassador program or elsewhere. And so we want all, you know, participants here and those who may be watching the recording or the stream to feel that they can make an impact in their neighborhood, whether it's something small, like Chesna mentioned, just meeting that one neighbor that could be a life-changing, you know, connection for them, or it's hosting a block party, or you could be interested in signing up for a 12-week program with the ambassadors. All of those are impactful, and so again, would encourage you to get to know your neighbors, whatever that looks like for you. So as we close out here, just want to encourage a few ways for you folks to stay engaged with us. As always, we encourage folks to subscribe to our monthly newsletter. We have a number of printed copies of the current issue out on the table in the back. Please also follow us on social media. You can hear about events that we're doing on social media, as well as check out some of our fun videos we've been producing lately, which is our I Am A2ZERO campaign, again, trying to put a face to the community behind a lot of this work. And as has been mentioned a few times tonight, we have A2ZERO week coming up between May 31st and June 6th. There are way too many events for me to list them all here, but just want to give folks a heads up. Again, if you want to look at the webpage that has all of those day-by-day events listed, you're encouraged to scan the QR code or just look up, you know, A2ZERO week events, and there will be a bunch of fun things to engage with. So thank you for spending your evening with us again, and a special thank you to the Ann Arbor District Library for hosting not only tonight, but this whole series. It's always a pleasure and a great space and amazing staff, so thank you so much for having us. And we can't wait to be back here for the 2027 series next year. And as we close out, we always have a 1-minute, really short engagement survey that helps us just understand how you find out about our events. If you're willing to, would encourage you to scan this QR code, give us just a little bit of feedback that helps us better understand how we can reach folks and tailor our events to your interests in the future. So thank you again for coming out, and thank you to our panelists for the great presentations, and we might have a few minutes for additional conversation. Thank you so much.